5 reasons to trust auto-matching your albums with SongKong Music Tagger. Would you trust an application to automatically fix your music metadata? Maybe not. Perhaps you edit your metadata manually because in the past you have had a bad experience with automated identification. Perhaps you just cannot see how it could possibly be better than doing it yourself with manual editing. So in this video, we are going to give you 5 reasons why you can trust the SongKong Music Tagger to get your music collection into shape with the minimum of effort. Reason 1. Album-based matching. So here we have 2 folders, each containing an album, but we have removed all the metadata from the tracks. Now what I'm going to do is copy one file from the second album to the first album. Now let's run SongKong with the default profile on these 2 folders. It uses 3 databases: MusicBrainz, Discogs, and AcoustID. MusicBrainz is the most accurate and in-depth of all online music databases. AcoustID creates an audio fingerprint of your songs. This then allows the song to be looked up in the AcoustID database, and this often has a link from an AcoustID to a MusicBrainz ID, so in that way we match songs to MusicBrainz. Discogs is great for vinyl and other physical releases. When SongKong completes, it generates a report. When we look at the results, we can see the MusicBrainz bar has 2 different shades of blue. Light blue indicates it is the regular MusicBrainz album match. Dark blue indicates it is a MusicBrainz song-only match. And we see the bar is split half and half. If we select Browse, and then browse by folder, we see the first folder does not indicate it has been matched to a MusicBrainz or Discogs album. If we then select the folder, we see we now have values for artist and title, so the songs have been identified, but we have no values for the album artist and track number fields. And this is the point. If SongKong cannot match all songs in a grouping to one album, it will not match any songs to the album. So if we were to do something like rename files, the songs would not get split into separate folders based on incorrect album matching. This is very important. And we have to remember that the same song can be released on multiple albums, so we should only add album-based fields if we are quite sure we have the right album. Now let's select a track. We can see we have lots of song-based metadata, just not anything that ties the song to a particular album. The metadata that has been added will be correct whatever album this song is actually from. Now let's look at the second folder. This folder contained a complete album, and we can see that for this album we also have album information such as disc number, track number, album artist and album. We also have hyperlinks to the MusicBrainz and Discogs albums have been matched to. Let us close this report and move to Reason 2. Reason 2. Preview mode. So we just ran in preview mode and therefore nothing has actually been modified. If we look at the files in the file manager, we can see they still have no metadata. So if we want to be cautious, we can always run in preview mode first and only run for real if we are happy with the results. Let's remove the extra track now. Hopefully we will get a full album match this time. Rerun fix songs. Remember, we are still in preview mode. We can see there are a number of progress bars that change as the task progresses. Some of these can go down as well as up. For example, sometimes we can match a group of songs to an album immediately. Other times we can only match song only to start with, but on a second iteration can then match to album. So as the songs matched to MusicBrainz release count increases, the songs matched to MusicBrainz song only count can decrease. Let's look at the new report. We can now see all songs are matched to MusicBrainz and Discogs. Now look at the results. It all looks very good to me. Both folders have been matched to the correct album. If we go to folder 1 now, we see the disc number, track number, album artist and album fields all have values now. But because we ran preview only, still nothing has been changed in the files. Now we will close this report. And we can confirm by looking at the file manager that no metadata been added. So let's run again. But this time disable preview only, select fix songs with default profile, and uncheck the preview only option. Because we used the preview-only option in the previous runs, SongKong still has to generate acoust IDs for each song again. Although once an acoust ID has been saved to a song, it never has to be regenerated, because it never changes. SongKong has already performed some of the MusicBrainz and Discogs searches in the previous runs, and these are now hashed, so it should finish more quickly this time. Okay, so it has generated the report. Select Browse, then browse by folder. Now select the first folder, and we get the same results, but now the files have actually been updated with the metadata. Let's close the report. And we can also see by looking at the File Explorer. For example, we can see there are now values for the title and album fields. Reason 3. Consistent and comprehensive metadata. Now let's look at that metadata in a bit more detail. Let's go back to the report. Select Folder 1. And select the first track on the album. If we scroll down, the metadata added includes artist and album artist, and their multi-value versions, artists and album artists. For example, for this first track, the main artist was David Guetta, but there was also a featured artist, Chris Willis. The artists field show both artists separately. We have front cover artwork, composer and credits information, links to Discogs, is classical, is compilation, and is greatest hits flags. Lots of links to MusicBrainz identifiers, and sort fields. And this is consistent. For example, when we identify the artist, we are actually matching to an artist entity, not just a text field. So SongKong can do things like ensure we always use the same version of the artist name rather than any album-specific variant. Using the Use Standard Artist Name instead of name displayed on cover option, as we can see by looking at the options that were used in this task. Now look at the second folder. Notice we get the full credits from Discogs stored in the credits field. And then we have extracted the performer information and added it to the performer field. For this album, we even have the recording location and date. Now just imagine trying to add in all this information manually. It would take forever. So if we only add the metadata manually, we are going to add less consistent and less comprehensive metadata. Also, SongKong is very configurable, so if there are special cases where we want to keep some existing fields, then there are options to allow us to do that. For example, the Only Modify If Empty option can be applied to selected fields. Reason 4. Audit Trail. Now these reports are all created as HTML reports, so you can refer back to them at any time. Select Reports from the menu, and then select List of All Reports. And we can see all 3 runs of fixed songs that we have done, with a summary of the results, and we can reopen any of them. So if we do run into any problems, we have a reliable audit trail. Reason 5. We can undo changes at a later date. As well as modifying the files themselves, all changes are also stored in the SongKong internal database, so at any point we can undo all changes made to a folder. Let's first close SongKong. Then restart to demonstrate that the changes are stored in a permanent database. We shall select the Album To folder, and then the Undo Fixes task. Again, we use the default profile, and select Start. As usual, the task generates a report. Let's navigate to the folder via the Browse menu. If we look at the results, we see it no longer has any metadata. It has all been deleted, shown by fields being highlighted in red. This is how the files were before we used them with SongKong. And let's confirm the results in File Explorer. Note that although we ran fixed songs on both folders, we can selectively undo just one of the folders. And we can confirm that we still have metadata in the other folder. If you have got this far, I hope you are encouraged to give SongKong a go, see great results, and save a lot of time. Here is another video that shows some of the other things that SongKong can do, such as delete duplicate files,